In the previous video, I have shown you how to convert a C language program to C++ program using a rectangle class. Now the same program or same class, I will write it once again freshly as a new C++ program. So let us write a class for rectangle using C++. So here first of all we should include a header file, that is iostream, include iostream. It may be iostream or iostream.h depending on the compiler you are using. And if you have to write suppose iostream only, then you have to say using namespace std, so that you can use scene and cout objects for displaying or reading. I may or may not be using them, but this is the thing that you have to write on in the beginning if you have scene and cout in your program. Now let us write a class for rectangle. Class rectangle. Inside the class, first of all, I need data members. So let us declare them as private. So I need two data members. One is length and the second one is breadth. So this is integer breadth. I am taking both of them as integer. So if you want to change the data type, you can change them. Then the next thing I will define member function. So I will write all of them inside public block. So the first thing, we should have a constructor. Constructor will not have any return type, but it may take or may not take parameters. So first I am writing non-argument constructor, which doesn't take any argument. So I should initialize length and breadth to some value. So I will assign both length as well as breadth equal to 1. So this we can call it as a default constructor. So I have written them in a single line because I need more space here. Then next I will write down a parameterized constructor. This will be called as constructor overloading. This takes length and also breadth. This I will be defining it outside using scope resolution operator. So this is just a prototype or a signature of a function or the header of a function. So this is a constructor member function. Now next, upon a rectangle, I may need the functions like calculating area or calculating perimeter. Now next function I should have is area function, which should return a result that is integer type. Then one more, integer perimeter, which returns perimeter of a rectangle. Now these two type of functions are there. Now if you want to have other functions like get set functions, you can write them. So I will show only for length and breadth, you can add them. So only for length I will have one function, that is get length, which will return length. So here itself I will expand it and I will say return length. Then the next is set length, to change the length. So in the previous video I was calling it as a change length, call it as set length. Now set length void set length function. Now this should change the length to a new given length. So directly I will write in a single line because it has to just change the length. I am changing length assign L. So these are the functions that I need, and I don't have any destructor. I don't have to destroy anything. If you have to destroy anything and if you have any dynamic memory allocation inside the constructor, then you can release that memory inside a destructor. So how destructor is written? It is written just using a class name with a tilde symbol. So it should have a name that is rectangle with a tilde symbol and no arguments at all. So these are the member functions of a rectangle class. These two are constructors. These are overloaded constructor. One is default constructor, other one is parameterized. And these type of functions which actually perform some operations on data members of an object, we call them as facilitators. And then this is accessor, that is get function or getter function, and this is mutator, that is setter function, and this is a destructor. These type of functions are there. I have written all the types of function inside a class. Now this already implemented. These three functions I have to implement them. So I implement them outside the class. So after this I have to write them. So here I will write down those functions. So let us write on the first function, that is constructor, parameterized constructor. So here for implementation, first of all, I should write down a class name, rectangle, and scope resolution, constructor name, rectangle, and it is taking two parameters, integer L and integer B, integer length and breadth. And there is no return type, so directly it starts from here. So only thing I have to do is length assign L and breadth assign B. So if at all you have any validations, you can do them here, checking whether length is valid or not, breadth is valid or not. Now the next function is area function. So I will write down implementation of the body of that function. This is the return type, then the class name rectangle and scope resolution. The function name is area. It doesn't take any argument. So it's also a single line function. So just I will say return length into breadth. Now next function is a perimeter function, so I will implement it outside. Int rectangle is a class name, so I have to use a scope resolution because this function is not an independent function. This is a part of a rectangle class. So function name is perimeter. It doesn't take any argument, and it's also a simple formula and a single line function. So just say return 2 into length plus breadth. So that's the end of a function. Now the last function, that is a destructor. Though I don't have anything to deallocate here, if at all any deallocation required, you can do that inside destructor and you can implement that destructor. Destructor will not have any return type, so directly a class name and scope resolution, and this is a destructor. So inside the destructor I don't have anything to do, so I'll just leave it blank. That's all. These are the functions. I have implemented them using scope resolution outside the class. Now I will write on the main function and use these functions. Let us write a main function here. Int main. Now the first thing, I will create an object of a rectangle, say rectangle R 10 and 5 length and breadth. So this will create a rectangle with length 10 and breadth 5. The next I will call the function. So I need the function, that is area and perimeter. I will call them and I will directly display their result. So cout r dot area, this will display area. Cout r dot perimeter, this will display perimeter. If I want to change the length, I can say set length function I can call, and I will change the length to 20. Now if I want to display the length, then I can say cout r dot get length. Length will be displayed. This function will return the length and cout will display it. So this is the end of the main function. Now once the main function ends, this destructor will be automatically called because the object is going outside the scope. Function ends, so a destructor will be called because the object will be destroyed. So this is a fresh C++ class I have written. Right from the beginning I have written everything. So in the previous video I have converted. Now in this video I have freshly written it. Now in my course, at very few places I have written C++ code because most of the time I have written C language code, and when I have finished the topic of data structure, like for example arrays, at the end of the topic of arrays I have written a C++ class for arrays. Then linked list, at the end of the topic I have written a class for linked list, that is C++ class for linked list. So I have collected all the operations of a linked list and I have put them in a single class and I have defined it as a class. Each and every function I have discussed them separately, just like C language program, because if you see in this example, if I have to discuss area of a rectangle, then I have to discuss only a function, right? That is the function area of a rectangle. This function I have to discuss. I don't have to discuss the entire class. So like this, insertion in a linked list, so I have discussed it separately and have discussed only a function. Then later I have converted into a class. So at the end of the topics you find C++ code. So there sometimes I have converted a C language code to C++ and sometime I have freshly written a class like this. So now you are familiar with this one, so you can easily follow the rest of the course. So hope you get a lot of benefit from this course. So one more thing I have to show you, that is templates. How to use templates, what are templates? I'll discuss that in the next video.